Hey everyone, I hope you're well, playing and are making the games that you all love. You're joining me, your host, Max Pears, but not just me today. I have someone who you all know and love, someone who is a big part, in my opinion, of the European level design community. He's always ever positive, always trying to help people out, and that is, and I'm going to make sure I don't pronounce your name wrong, Mitja.
Hello, and thanks for the nice introduction.
No worries, man. I think you deserve it. Honestly, like everyone I speak to has nothing but nice things to say about you, mate, myself included. So I'm glad to finally have you on the show, mate, because it's been a long time coming, in my opinion.
Yeah, I'm happy to hear that. I'm trying to do as much as I can.
No, man, you seem to be doing a lot. So like, hats off to you. And for those of you if people don't know, Mitja is now you or recently you've become the lead level designer at Machine Games. How's that been for you, mate?
It's been an interesting experience going from senior level to lead level design at a AAA studio. I've been a lead before at a smaller studio, but this is a whole kind of a different challenge.
Yeah, I can imagine. And for those of you who don't know much about you, mate, do you mind giving a brief kind of backstory of how you got into video games and what's led you to where you are now, mate?
Sure, I can give a brief history of my career so far. I actually started out as a level scripter in the beginning.
Oh, wow.
It was a good way to get into the industry for me in because I'm from Slovenia
Mm.
and there's no level design or game design schools there. So I focused on programming in high school, and starting out as a level scripter was a good way to get into the industry, learn about the industry, and then slowly transition to level design. So in Slovenia, I worked at a company called Zootfly. I'm not sure if people remember it. It's not around anymore. But while I was there, we released 4 games. The first one was based on the TV show Prison Break: The Conspiracy. It was a stealth adventure game. The second game was based on the movie The Expendables.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a lot of movie and TV show tie-ins. Third one was a twin stick shooter called Narco Terror.
Oh, really?
Yeah. And the last one, which I'm most proud of from that time, is called Marlow Briggs and the Mask of Death.
Mm.
It's a action adventure game in a style of God of War, melee combat focus in the game.
Awesome.
It was a fun project.
Yeah, I can imagine.
And after Zootfly, I went to Croatia to Lion Game Lion. There, I got the chance to work on Payday 2 for a year. So I worked on 2 maps for Payday 2. That was again very good experience for me. It was my first-person game, first co-op game, first game with a lot of randomized elements. It was a whole new challenge starting to work on first-person games.
Yeah.
And after Payday 2, we worked on a game called Raid World War II, which was inspired by Payday 2, but it was set in the times of the Second World War. After Croatia, I went to Russia.
You've gone all over the place. Hey.
Yes. I was at Sparasoft in Russia, and there I was in a team that was co-developing Rainbow Six Siege
Oh,
with
wow. Okay.
Ubisoft. But my main responsibilities on Siege were the mission Outbreak event, if you remember it.
Yes, yeah, okay, that's pretty cool.
It was a limited event where it was 3-player co-op versus aliens.
So different from the main, the main, you know.
Very, very different, yeah. But they are releasing Rainbow Six Quarantine next year, which is, I think, it's based on this event.
Mm.
Again, a very, very interesting experience working on Siege. It's a very competitive game. So even if I was working on mostly on the co-op side, I still got a lot of insights into making the PvP maps.
Yeah.
It was also very nice collaborating with people from Ubisoft. They bring a lot of knowledge.
Yeah.
And after Russia, I went to Finland.
Gone all over, man.
In Finland, I was at Remedy Games.
Oh, awesome. How was that?
Very, very nice. They're a really, really good studio. I have a lot of respect for them.
Yeah.
I didn't work on Control though. I worked on the Crossfire project.
Oh, okay, cool.
Because Remedy is making the single player campaign for it.
I didn't know that. Okay, awesome.
So even though like I'm a big fan of single player FPS games, this was my first chance to work on a single player FPS game.
Oh, wow. Must have felt amazing for you, that one.
Yeah, it was good to finally get the chance to work on something like that.
Yeah.
Again, a big learning experience. Also, learning a lot about company values and how to treat people well there.
Yeah.
Like I said, very good company.
Yeah, man.
And after Remedy, I went to Sweden to Machine Games, where I am now. Got the chance to work on a Wolfenstein game, which
Yeah.
I grabbed the chance.
For sure, man. Right up your alley.
Oh, Youngblood, like one of my favorite projects in my career so far.
Amazing.
I like the kind of style of the game, crazy FPS, a lot of things you can do in level design as well.
Yeah. No, it
Um,
seems it. Like you guys did a very good job, in my opinion. Like I said, I've not finished the game, but I've played through a fair bit of it, and it's really nicely done. What you and your team did, mate, really nicely done.
Thank you. Yeah, we
No.
tried. It was quite a short project,
Mm.
difficult as well because of the switch to co-op.
Yeah, yeah. I was going to ask you about that. Like, I was going to say, like, it must have been very like trying to wrap your head around how to do and make co-op feel meaningful. You've obviously got the boxes which you both need. I like the hand signals that you can do to raise morale, and
Yeah.
also shields, sorry, which are great for it. So yeah, no, like there's really interesting, and like with that as well. Did you have to make the spaces bigger to facilitate, I guess, more people then?
Exactly, exactly. You don't want the players to bump into each other too much,
Mm,
especially when fighting enemies. There needs to be more width in the corridors.
yeah.
So when you have around 10 enemies in a combat arena plus 2 players, it needs to be easy to get away or flank the enemies.
Yeah. I was going to ask, when you guys were designing your levels, did you have any kind of core principles or pillars of what the levels should contain or follow?
I wouldn't say we had any strict pillars.
Hmm.
There were more like guidelines.
Hmm.
One thing I wanted to achieve after I became the lead was always give players something to do. So as you know, there are a lot of components to the game.
Yeah.
You can go in guns blazing, and you have the stunt element. And because the game doesn't have regenerating health, you have a bunch of health pickups and armor pickups as well.
Mm.
So it was like I wanted to populate the area, so finding places for collectibles, pickups. We had everything from coins, and you could eat bagels and so forth. I also wanted that there's always a sense of like having a clear objective while playing the game. I don't like when players are not sure what they're supposed to be doing.
Yeah.
I feel that in general we achieved a good flow through the game.
Oh, I think so. I think you guys got it really well. Now, that's one thing I wanted to ask because I think it really complements the style of gunplay you have because it's not necessarily like a slow-paced planning because you do have that stealth element. But when you go in guns blazing, I feel like you don't have as much cover because in the sense you want the players to move through it. And I think that works really well with, like you said, that flow of keeping the players ever moving forward. I thought it was really nice.
There are some cases where I would say we didn't really succeed, right? But we tried. We both know as level designers that sometimes we spend weeks tweaking our area that players will pass in seconds.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
So it was a lot of that. Trying to give enough space between covers to maneuver around, angling pieces of geometry so they guide the player through the environment and so forth.
Yeah, man. And as I say, it must have been different in the sense of like it's the first time in Wolfenstein, I think, and do correct me if I'm wrong, but where you do have a more kind of open maps because you've got different, I guess, side missions and objectives to achieve. So like, how is that trying to put that as the very first time into a franchise that I guess is much more linear in a sense?
Yeah, the good thing here was that we partnered with Arcane, and most of us level designers know that they're really good at what they do.
For sure.
Dishonored games, so they brought a lot of knowledge when it comes to this.
Yeah.
It's about giving options to the player, but not too many. It's limiting, so it doesn't get too overwhelming. Because you can make an open space very easily, right?
Yeah.
But like it needs to make sense in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah.
And it needs to support the combat as well.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not like one big giant open area. It's divided into sections. So the various districts that we have, the political detention area, Victory Boulevard, and so forth.
Yeah.
They are constructed out of multiple sections that are closed off from each other. So once you go from one sections to the other, enemies despawn and so forth.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting. I guess is there anything that you've like that was the biggest challenge for you when you guys were making levels for this?
I think the biggest challenge from my point of view was making sure that even the game can be played in co-op, you can play it solo as well.
Yeah, I get it. Okay, yep. Yeah.
So everything that you can do in co-op, a player should be able to do solo as well, right?
Yeah.
It was trying to find this balance because, of course, you want to have cool co-op interactions for the players, but then it had to be supported by the AI as well. We didn't want to split up the gameplay between, if you're playing solo, it's different than when you're playing in co-op.
Hmm.
So that was one of the biggest challenges, I would say.
Yeah. No, I understand that. We had a similar thing with Division, but we didn't have an AI companion to necessarily
Yeah,
worry about. But yeah, that was a thing for us as well, was trying to have the same impact. So I think, yeah, that's a big one. How do you guys feel that you tackled that? Because obviously a lot of that falls onto your AI team as well, with the fact that they are controlling that. But how do you feel you best did or helped to facilitate that with your level design?
it was a lot of communication between the level design team and, yes, you're correct, the AI programmers.
Mm.
The first step was usually to try our idea outright, prototype it, and see how far can we get it with the technology that we have,
Hmm.
and then talk to the AI programmers and see either is it possible to find a solution in a fair amount of time, right? Because they
Yeah.
also have other priorities.
Yeah.
Or if not, going back a bit and try to change the design a bit so it's simpler in ways.
Hmm.
So it was a back and forth.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing how how much goes into obviously making a game because like there's so many people involved, and I think you raised a good point with about communication because that's
Yeah,
sometimes one of the first things to break down. So I think yeah, you're right. That it's so important to communicate.
this is one of the advices I usually give to people entering the industry. Because you can be a great level designer, but if you're working in a studio environment, communication plays a big role. It's something, even if you're introverted or shy, you have to kind of accept and learn
Yeah,
to be better at it.
yeah,
For us, level designers especially, we have to communicate with pretty much every other department when making the levels.
yeah. It's so true. Like we communicate with so many, and then also we're like sometimes the last people to touch a section. So when something goes wrong, it's
Yeah,
normally coming in your direction. So no,
you have to make sure everyone is on the same page.
yeah.
You have to make sure that people are working on the things that are high priority. It's a lot of communication on the daily basis.
Mm. Yeah, I agree. I think it's a very important part of level design that people don't necessarily expect it to be, or just game dev in general. Like everyone communicates, and I think it is a huge part of it.
Yeah, I think the more communication, the more direct communication in our studio, the better it will be in the end.
Yeah, yeah, man. And I think that's just yeah, it's just such a huge part that people need to understand.
At Level Design Lobby, we believe everybody has a story to tell. Hobbyist or student, freelancer or veteran, we made it our mission to unite those who share our passion for creating and developing great games. Thanks to our generous Patreon backers, we've been able to do just that. So if you've already pledged your support, thank you. If not, you too can ensure the future of Level Design Lobby, helping us to create even more exciting content, collaborations, interviews, and much more. With awesome perks and rewards, whether you're a seasoned professional or just getting started, you're sure to find something for you. Want to share tips, tricks, and advice with passionate, like-minded developers? Our awesome community Discord has you covered. Fancy practicing your level design, creating strong portfolio content, and having fun? Then try our level design weekends. Or perhaps you want to individually discuss your work, hone your skills, or level up your career? Then consider our one-on-one mentorships. If you share our vision, then go to patreon.com/level design lobby for more information and to pledge your support. Thank you.
And I guess then you being a lead, that's an even bigger role or part of your job
Oh
with it.
yeah.
So, Can you explain to people like what, for those who may not have an understanding, like what I guess is the difference from going as a senior level designer to being a lead level designer?
It's stepping away a bit from actually making levels and more into being the person in between the directors and the level design team. So my first thing is get all the knowledge about the game, all the important information, gather that everything that people need to be updated about, and try to communicate that to the team.
Yeah.
So that involves having a lot of meetings. Because games change during development, right? Again, we know that.
Yeah.
Things change. Nothing is really set in stone until the game ships.
Yeah, so true.
So all of these changes need to be communicated and delivered in a way that people understands why. Sometimes that's the tricky part.
Yes.
Sometimes it's trying something and changing it back in a week. But it's for me, it's reassuring the team that it's for the best of the game, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't know how things will end up until you try them.
Yeah, that's true.
If they don't work out, okay, we wasted a little bit of time, but at least we know we won't be asking ourselves, what if?
Yeah. No, that's very true. I think that's sometimes people forget that as well, because there's so many times I think we've all gone through it where you've made a change and then someone's like, "Oh, just change it back," and you are, and at the time you do get frustrated, like, "But why did I even bother?" But you bring up that great point of like things change, and sometimes you won't actually get a feel for it until it actually is playable as well. So I think that's a valid point, mate.
The other part is also that things get cut for various reasons, right?
Yep.
It's one of the lessons I learned early in my career, right? You have to accept that. It shouldn't be there to like personally offend you.
No.
It's if it's for the best of the game, it's like you have to accept it, right?
Yeah.
And some of my other responsibilities as a lead at the moment include training the team as well. So do you know the CGMA course, for example?
Yes, I took it earlier this year. So yes, I have done that, my friend.
We have 5 people now at Machine Games that are taking the course this year.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's really good training the people about various things. It's a great course.
Yep.
I had a peek myself.
Yeah. It's a good one. It's a lot as well in a good sense. You know, you get a lot to do on that course. You know, it's 10 intense weeks, I think. So it's a good choice.
We have quite frequently now presentations among the level design team.
Awesome. What do you do in your presentations, if you're allowed to say, mate?
We, like, for example, we hired a couple of new people, and they bring new kind of knowledge to the table, and they do presentation about topics that maybe we don't know so much about, right? I can't go into detail about what kind of topics.
Yeah, no, I get that.
But when making a game, there's so many different styles and types of games that you can't possibly know everything.
Yeah, it's so true.
And so we are training the team researching other games as well together.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's an important one. One of the cool things we did at UB after we had some downtime was we all picked example of different kind of games that we were playing and then tried to break them down and then presented that to each other and kind of learn from them. So yeah, I think it's a really smart idea, that, mate. And I didn't think about when you got new people joining for them to present on different topics. That's very smart. I think that's a great idea.
Oh yeah, and everyone takes something from it, right?
Yeah.
Other parts of being a lead is also scheduling.
Oh God, yeah.
Working together with producers and other leads, working on defining the milestones and scheduling the work among people.
Yeah.
It's not the most glorious thing to do, but it needs to be done, right?
Yes.
It's good to beforehand have a couple of conversations, because if you just get started, right, the thing will be quite chaotic.
Yes. Yeah. No, I agree. I think sometimes scheduling feels like, I don't want to say the enemy because that's not the right word, but it sometimes feels like it can be not always the great thing, but I do agree with you. It's a necessary evil in the sense of that, like you said, things can get too chaotic. At least everyone has an idea of where they should be going. You know, even if you hit it or miss the deadline, if you do it in less time or more time, that's also learning about the process. Because as you mentioned earlier, mate, each game is different and everything, you know, you don't know everything. So a level for Wolfenstein might take you longer or less time than a level for Rainbow Six, you know, that you just never know until after doing it.
Exactly. I'm jumping around a bit, but
it's fine, man. It's all great information. It's all great.
One of the tasks I had recently was also like refining the level production process.
I was going to ask you about that. Like, how has that been? What, I imagine that's a different challenge in its own way.
It is, because for Youngblood I joined during production, right? So I wasn't there from beginning. But moving forward, because I'm the lead and I have experience from before.
Yeah.
Together with the input from the team and producers and the lead environment artist, we started working on a good production process. And of course, it's still changing a bit, but we want to have key milestones, like maybe stages is the better word defined, like splitting up the level production into multiple stages and what the delivery is for every one of the stages. Also having a good approval process, so a review and approval process for every stage.
It's very important. So no, that sounds like there's quite a bit to take in with that. And I guess it's interesting because every place does the pipeline slightly different.
Yeah, so, I would say there's no one right way to do it.
Yeah.
It all depends on the studio, the team, and the project, right?
Yeah, very much so, mate. I think that's a valid point with it. So now, like, as we're coming to the closing minutes, I guess, then, mate, like, is there a section or a level or something you're most proud of what you and your team achieved on Youngblood?
For me personally, I would say the areas I'm most proud of are the areas I worked on myself.
Yeah, man, I get it.
Like I took Brother 2. I don't know if you reached it.
I think I did that one. Yep.
It's the one where you traverse upwards the tower. You have an outside platforming section.
No, I haven't reached that level then. I actually completely lied to you. No, I did not reach that section yet. No, so like, what are you most proud of on that level, mate?
When I joined the team, it was very rough, It was just taking every area in the level and seeing how to improve it.
Yeah.
And at the same time working together with the environment artists to make them feel comfortable, because I was the new guy at the studio.
Yeah.
I had to prove myself.
Mm.
Like going area by area and kind of showcasing, I kind of know what I'm doing. Like it's like you can trust me, and we had a nice collaboration with the environment artists. I was very open to their feedback as well, so we felt like building the level together.
Yeah.
So the one of the biggest areas the change was again the outside section that was completely new, the platforming. There my challenge was, okay, so how to make it not frustrating, right? Because platforming sections in first-person games can be quite frustrating.
Yeah.
So designing it in a way that even if you fail, most of the time you won't die from falling down, but have some platforms that you can land on.
Yeah.
It was a fun experience doing that. It went quite quickly as well. I laid down on paper the section I would want for platforming, and I put it in 2 days in the editor. I played it and I hated it. But I took 2 more days to rearrange anything, and then besides, obviously there were tweaks, but after that the core of it pretty much stayed until the end. So
awesome.
Using modular pieces to build it quickly,
No, that's awesome, man. I think that's really smart. It's funny as well when you play your own work and you are like, God damn it, this just isn't how I imagined it. I think that's always the funniest part.
Yeah, I mean, to me it happens all the time, I would say.
Yeah, I'm amazed if it doesn't happen with people, but it's always just funny because in your, I don't know, for me, I'm after doing some sketches or something, I'm like, okay, this makes sense. All right, I'm gonna see something, and you play it and you're like, damn it. Theoretically.
I don't remember a time when I took something and made a layout of it and be happy on the first try. It's
yeah, it's so true.
Okay, this is 3 times too big. Okay, let's scale it down a bit. You can't really sense it until you play around, run around, pretend that you're shooting someone or imagine things.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's my biggest strengths, I would say, is iteration part. Yeah. I like to iterate often and quickly.
I think it's such a good quality to have, being a level designer, and I sometimes think people aren't aware how many iterations go into making a good level.
Yeah. Some people are quite strong on the paper design side, right? They can construct very nice paper maps, very detailed. But for me, it's like having a very rough sketch and just jumping in and trying it out and changing it 100 times, and by the end of it, hopefully it's something that's fun to play.
Yeah, that's always it. Hopefully. Yeah, no, mate, that's it. I think it's such an important skill as well, because you mentioned earlier about feedback and stuff getting cut and people need to know it's never personal, and it's sometimes hard to do that because it's your work, it's your passion.
Yeah.
But as you're saying, man, I completely agree. It's about you need to do that, and that's how it gets better through iteration. So yeah.
It's really hard to judge fun, right? So.
Oh God, yeah. God, yeah. I think that's always the funniest part, is especially when you're like, yeah, this is like you think you're enjoying it, and then especially when you give it to someone else to test, and they don't even play it how you thought they were going to play it. It's
Exactly.
So.
It gets a bit easier with experience in the industry, but it still happens, right? That the players just do silly things, and
yeah, no, it's heartbreaking sometimes, but it's also the funniest things as well. No, mate, that's it. And I guess my last question then, mate, are you playing any games in the minute?
Oh yeah. Even though I'm like a huge fan of single player games, and I tried the first 2 hours of Jedi Fallen Order and I loved it, but my time is kind of limited at the moment.
Yeah.
So when I get home, I like to relax in short sessions with some multiplayer matches. So I'm playing a lot of the new Call of Duty.
Awesome.
It's quite a fun game.
Yeah, no, I've heard good things. I've heard very good things.
It's been since Modern Warfare 2 that I played Call of Duty in multiplayer.
So a while then.
Yeah, I played all the campaigns up to this point, but for this one I was like, let's try the multiplayer again. They're doing something different. They're going back to the roots.
Yeah.
It's boots on the ground combat.
Yeah, because it's not as movement heavy focused as some of the previous installments, which is very, like you said, back to more realistic combat, which I think is cool.
Yeah. What else have I been playing? Rage 2 a bit to promote our sister game, or how would I call it, published by ZeniMax as well.
Yeah. No, that's a good choice. I haven't played Rage 2, I haven't got a chance to, but I hear the gunplay is really good. It's really nice.
Yeah, the game gunplay is amazing. The moment-to-moment combat feels really good.
Yeah, I've heard that. Nice.
You can do so many crazy things in the game.
No, I hear that. I think it'd be a great one. But yeah, no, that sounds cool, man. Sounds like some good time when you get your time off, that is. So it sounds nice.
Yeah, I am downloading now Halo Reach on PC.
Oh yeah, because the Master Chief Collection, isn't it? It's, yeah. All right. I forgot about that.
I never really owned an Xbox, so it's my first chance to try a Halo game.
Oh wow. Nice.
I have a lot of friends that are big fans of Halo, but I can't really know until I play it myself, right?
Yes. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see, because also, Halo is definitely one that pioneered, first-person shooters in a different way at that time. But then it's obviously the industry has moved forward as well. So I'd be interested to see how well it holds up in a sense. So I think it'd be really nice to see.
I think we will have a couple of matches at work as well with our Halo fans at work.
That's brilliant. That's a good one, that one. That sounds good. Awesome. Well, mate, we'll wrap this one up because I don't want to eat too much of your free time because you're a busy man. But thank you very much for coming on the show, mate. I really do appreciate it. I'm glad that you've been on. I'm sure we'll do this again in the future as well. If people want to reach out to you, how can they get in contact with you, mate?
I think the best way is using Twitter. It's just my name dot my surname, so I'm not sure if I pronounce it. People really know where to find me.
I will put it in the link in the description. So
Yeah, thank you. Twitter is the best way to reach me. DM me, send me a message, and I usually take the time to respond to people.
No, for sure. I think you're one of the best in terms of communicating on Twitter and through it. So yeah, no, you did a great job on that one, mate. And also sharing resources. You're really good at sharing some great stuff. I find many interesting articles or videos coming through you. So yeah, great job.
We have a good community of level designers on Twitter now.
Yeah, some great ones out there, some phenomenal ones. So no, awesome. All right then, mate. Well, for me, if you people do want to reach out to me, you can do so at Max Pears. If you want to email in any questions for myself, do so at leveldesignlobby@gmail.com. And if you do want to support the show, please head over to patreon.com/leveldesignlobby. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed the show, and we'll catch you all next time.